February 16th, 2016 saw the release of filmmaker Ryan Coogler's box office behemoth Black Panther. The film, starring the late great Chadwick Boseman as Marvel Comics' first black superhero, King T'Challa, and Michael B. Jordan as his charismatic antagonist, Eric Killmonger, was widely praised as a breakthrough for representation on the silver screen. The film was the 18th entry in Kevin Feige's Marvel Cinematic Universe, but the first to feature a black man as the protagonist, a benchmark for the wildly successful franchise that popular culture felt was long overdue. While most praised the movie for its groundbreaking turn, in the dusty corners of the internet, voices the world over whispered in hushed tones, "Wait, didn't Blade do it first?" Well, technically Spawn and Steel did it first in the same month way back in 1997, but both of those movies suck, so we'll give it to Blade. Released on August 21st, 1998, nearly 20 years before Black Panther, New Line Cinema's adaptation of Marvel Comics' lesser-known black protagonist, Eric Brooks, aka the half-human, half-vampire vampire hunter Blade, premiered in theaters. Originally appearing in print in the 10th issue of Tomb of Dracula way back in July of 1973, the cinematic adaptation of Blade starred film icon Wesley Snipes as the titular character. Known as the Daywalker amongst those he hunts, Blade has all the strengths and none of the weaknesses of his vampiric prey save one: their insatiable thirst for human blood. Blade curbs his thirst with the aid of a serum developed by his friend and mentor Chris Christopherson's Abraham Whistler, who supplies him with the silver-lined weapons and gadgets he uses to rid the world of the underground vampire society pulling global strings behind the scenes. On a smaller yet no less impressive scale than Coogler's Black Panther, Stephen Norrington's Blade was a smashing success, earning $131 million off of a budget of only $45, becoming an instant cult classic that endures to this day, spawning countless hilarious TikToks, and resurrecting serious superhero cinema a mere year after Joel Schumacher and George Clooney killed it with 1997's notorious box office bomb Batman and Robin, and arguably setting into motion a series of events that eventually led to mainstream successes like Bryan Singer's X-Men and Sam Raimi's Spider-Man, which in turn led to the creation of the MCU itself. More directly, the original Blade spawned two sequels, Blade 2 and Blade Trinity. Blade 2 was an early English language effort from Best Picture, Best Director winning auteur Guillermo del Toro, which saw Blade reluctantly teaming up with the Blood Pack.
Ooh, so exciting.
A group of vampires tasked with stopping a new race of super vampires called Reapers, creatures who desire the blood of vampires and humans alike. Blade 2 was even more successful than the first, earning $155 million off of a budget that was only slightly bigger and giving American audiences an early peek at the dark, imaginative worlds of its visionary director. Blade Trinity, however, was a different story entirely. That film yet again finds Blade reluctantly allying himself with another team, a group of human vampire hunters called the Night Stalkers, who take on the ultimate mission when the granddaddy of all vampires, Dracula, is resurrected. Only the second feature directorial effort from the writer behind all three Blade films, David Goyer, the film, which should have been the apotheosis of the franchise, was a mess all throughout its production and release. As legend has it, the star of the franchise, Wesley Snipes, protested both the choice of Goyer as director as well as the direction of the script itself, particularly the introduction of the new actors he was forced to share billing with, Jessica Biel's Abigail Whistler and Ryan Reynolds' Hannibal King, characters the film laboriously sets up for potential spin-offs. If legendary comedian Patton Oswalt, who portrayed the tech guy Hedges, is to be believed, Snipes was difficult all throughout production.
We were in Vancouver and Wesley Snipes was going crazy,
refusing to come out of his trailer during wake and bake sessions.
And you'd walk by his trailer and this wall of pot stench would just be like, whoa!
Which forced Goyer to shoot around the actor when he didn't outright replace him with stunt and CGI doubles, exclusively communicating with Goyer and his cast through post-it notes he'd sign as Blade.
He would communicate with post-its that he would give to the director, and each one he would sign Blade.
And even eventually physically assaulting Goyer, who he accused of racism. For his part, Snipes disputes Oswalt's claims. Why would people believe his version is true? Because they are predisposed to believing the black guy is always the problem. And all it takes is one person, Mr. Oswalt, who I really don't know. I can barely remember him on the set. But it's fascinating that his statement alone was enough to make people go, yeah, you know, Snipes has got a problem. Regardless of what actually happened, Blade Trinity proved to be a critical and financial disaster. The summer blockbuster was abandoned in the middle of winter Filmmaker, releasing in December 2004 with limited marketing and little fanfare, earning a mere $132 million worldwide with an abysmal reception from critics and audiences. Following Blade Trinity's failure, the franchise quickly fell into disrepair, with New Line Cinema only managing to develop and release a short-lived television series based on the property. Imaginatively titled Blade the Series, the show, which helped launch Dude Bro Network Spike TV, starred rapper-turned-actor Sticky Fingers in the title role. Despite being produced by Goyer and well-respected DC Comics scribe Jeff Johns, the show proved to be a cheesy, low-budget mess that only ran for one season. Post its ill-fated excursion into television, New Line Cinema struggled to develop new cinematic projects with the title. Given Blade Trinity's awful performance, the planned Night Stalker spin-off film never came to fruition, leaving Ryan Reynolds to flounder in the comic book ghetto with the infamously bad big-budget adaptation of Green Lantern.
God, that's beautiful.
Before striking it big with the much more responsibly budgeted mega hit Deadpool, while leaving Jessica Biel free to star in mid-tier films like the Edward Norton vehicle The Illusionist, or as I like to call it, crappy prestige, before focusing on her high-profile relationship with pop star turned animated troll who enjoys the occasional cocktail, Justin Timberlake. The director behind the original Blade and the much less well-received League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, Stephen Norrington, pitched a potential prequel film concerning the villain of the first film, Stephen Dorff's Deacon Frost, but that failed to materialize as well. Finally, I'm assuming because they were out of ideas, New Line even attempted to develop a Blade crossover film with the Kate Beckinsale Underworld franchise, but were unable to get it off the ground before the rights reverted back to its proper home, Marvel Studios, in 2012. Thankfully, Marvel promptly managed to release a new, more comic-accurate version of the character shortly after the film was announced at San Diego Comic-Con back in 2019. Is what I would be saying if Marvel Studios was still operating at its peak. Unfortunately, it's not, and in reality, the studio has proven just as inept as its predecessor, if not more so, at handling the property. While it's true that the MCU announced Blade during San Diego Comic-Con back in 2019, with the architect of the MCU, Kevin Feige, trotting out two-time Academy Award winner Mahershala Ali onto Hall H stage as the new Blade, which, despite being genius casting, no doubt confused Marvel fans who had firmly established the actor as Luke Cage's Cottonmouth from his show-making turn in the first season of the Netflix series. I still don't understand why they killed off the best part of their show halfway through that season. The new film has languished in development hell in the 5 years since it was announced, though the project has suffered from the same unforeseen setbacks that have plagued Hollywood in general over the past few years, i.e. the COVID pandemic as well as last year's dual entertainment strikes. It's the issues within the studio's control that have been the most concerning. At the time of this writing, Blade has worked its way through 6 separate screenwriters. Initially set to be penned by Watchmen and Pen 15 scribe Stacey Osei-Kuffour, the script has either been rewritten or restarted entirely by When They See Us writer Michael Starbury, Logan and Alien Covenant veteran screenwriter Michael Green, True Detective creator Nick Pizzolatto, who Ali worked with on the 3rd season of his hit HBO show, Beau DeMayo, aka the man who made Magneto incredibly sexy in the excellent, pun intended, X-Men 97, and is currently being doctored by Marvel Studios' go-to script finisher Eric Pearson, the man who helped get Thor Ragnarok and Black Widow to the silver screen, and who is currently working on the reboot of the Fantastic Four. Blade hasn't only chewed, again pun intended, its way through writers, but directors as well, and even its own cast. Marvel Studios initially appointed indie filmmaker Bassam Tariq to direct, but the filmmaker left the project a little over a year later, with reports conflicting about whether or not the reason was creative differences or simply the fact that the whole process was taking too long. Tariq was quickly replaced by Lovecraft Country alum Jan Demange that November, and it even looked like he'd get a chance to do his job when the film suddenly shut down a little over a month before it was set to begin shooting thanks to the writer's strike. Despite the setback, Demange stuck with the project for over a year after that, only recently dropping out of the film for an undisclosed reason at an unspecified time earlier this year. Blade has also lost members of its cast as quickly as it's added them. As the film's barreled its way through development hell, it's cast the Underground Railroad star Aaron Pierre, legendary character actor Delroy Lindo, and even burgeoning horror icon Mia Goth. Sadly, Pierre was the first to go, seemingly because his undisclosed character character was simply phased out as the script evolved. Delroy Lindo, who I'm guessing was cast as some version of Whistler, dropped out next, again for unspecified reasons, though an unnamed agent close to the production may provide an answer as to why. People have missed about 3 windows to shoot other movies or shows. As of the time of this writing, Mia Goth remains on board as the film's villain, the mother of all demons Lilith, but I wouldn't be surprised if Marvel quietly removes her from the cast list while no one's looking. Around the same time the domestic violence allegations against Marvel star Jonathan Majors developed, Goth was accused of assault on the set of her upcoming horror sequel Maxine. Whether or not the accusations are true, if public ire were to resurface, it could prove to be a public relations headache that the studio simply might not want to deal with. Most worrisome of all, it stands to reason that, if the film continues down this track, Mahershala Ali himself may drop out of the project as well. While Ali expressed enthusiasm for Blade near the end of 2023, I'm really encouraged with the direction of the project. I think we'll be back at it relatively soon. It's rumored that the star has grown increasingly frustrated behind the scenes due to the film's troubled development, and it's easy to see why. While purely conjecture on my part, when the movie was first announced, Ali was already 45 years old. Now 50, the physical demands of the character are most likely wearing the actor down. After all, Wesley Snipes himself has maintained that the role requires the skills of an elite athlete, and the pressures of having to remain in shape for a film that could start shooting at any moment must be taking a toll. Given that he was responsible for recruiting writer Nick Pizzolatto and filmmaker Jan Demange, I can't imagine that he was too happy with their departures, and the consistent lack of direction with the script has no doubt been something of a pain point, especially when some iterations of it have taken the focus off of him entirely, something that's no doubt an insult considering Ali approached Marvel about taking on the role in the first place. Speaking of the script, though the direction of it has been kept under wraps, details for a couple of versions have leaked and they're not looking good. Last November, a devastating article from Variety outlining Marvel's general production troubles reported on a draft of the script that featured Blade as the 4th lead behind 3 female characters in a tale filled with, and I quote, life lessons. What the f does that mean? More recently, the version of the film that was set to go into production last year, the one that was apparently developed by Beau DeMayo, was revealed to be a period piece set in the 1920s that featured Goth's Lilith attempting to obtain the blood of Blade's daughter. Though I personally think that sounds kind of cool, I think it's safe to say that storyline would be a hard pivot from what the majority of the audience is expecting. If these subpar scripts and production setbacks indeed end up driving Ali away, it'll likely prove to be the death knell for the project as a whole, with lasting consequences for everyone involved. Not only will it be a bad look for the studio, who will have essentially held one of Hollywood's top talents hostage for 5 years at the height of his career, promising him what he refers to as his Black Panther and ultimately delivering nothing, but it'll surely be a massive disappointment for Kevin Feige, who was heavily influenced by the success of the first Blade. Blade is a character nobody had heard of at all, had only appeared in a few issues of Tomb of Dracula or something, turned into a big franchise. That was always a great lesson for me, where you go, it doesn't matter how well known the character is, it matters how cool the movie is. Most embarrassingly, it'll also create a minor yet unfortunate loose end in the continuity of the MCU itself. Though some may have forgotten, Blade made his debut to the cinematic universe in a post-credit voiceover cameo in everyone's favorite MCU film, Eternals.
Sure you're ready for that, Mr. Whitman?
That movie's a sleeping pill. Fortunately, if Ali does decide to leave, all hope isn't lost. Wesley Snipes, who's sniped at the project ever since it was announced, is still readily available and willing to step back into the role. I personally can't think of another man more suited to get the job done. After all, no one can deliver one-liners that include the words mother quite as effectively as him.
Are you out of your damn mind?
You obviously do not know who you are with.
Can't tell you, they'll kill me.
Kill you, motherfucker. I'll kill you.
Blade. Ready to die.
I was born ready, motherfucker.
Some motherfuckers are always trying to ice skate uphill.
Let me know what you think about Blade's busted development down in the comment section below. Do you think this movie will ever be scorched by the light of day? Do you think Mahershala Ali will be the one to do it? Let me know. Also, be sure to like, share, and subscribe to help support the channel. I'd like to say thanks in advance, thanks for watching, and until next time, peace.